The visitor in the rain. It was a cold night. The rain hit the roof like a slow drumbeat. Captain Daniel Grant sat alone in his wooden cabin, far from the city, deep in the forest. He held a photo in his hands, a photo that had become worn after so many years. It showed a young woman with kind eyes and a soft smile. Her name was Alara. She had died 60 years ago. In his arms, Daniel was now old with gray hair and tired eyes. He lived alone, away from people, away from the past. The world had changed. New cities, flying cars, even colonies on Mars. But Daniel stayed here, stuck in the past, stuck in the moment Alara left him. Thunder cracked outside. The lights flickered once, then went out. The cabin went dark, lit only by the fire in the fireplace. A knock came at the door. Daniel froze. No one ever came here. Not friends. Not strangers. He stood up slowly, his knees stiff. Another knock. Soft, almost careful, like the person wasn't sure if they should be there. He opened the door. A woman stood there in the rain. She wasn't wet, not even her hair. She wore a simple white dress. Her eyes were wide, filled with something between fear and hope. Daniel stared at her. He dropped the photo from his hand. "Alara," he whispered. The woman blinked, surprised. Then she smiled. "Hello, Daniel." Daniel felt like the ground had disappeared under his feet. He couldn't breathe. It was her. The same face, the same voice, the same little tilt of her head when she smiled, but it couldn't be. She had died. He had buried her. He had cried over her grave for years. "Who are you?" he asked, voice shaking. "It's me," she said gently. "I know this is hard to believe. I don't understand it either. I just woke up. And I remembered you." Daniel stepped back, letting her in. The firelight touched her skin. She looked exactly like she had at 25. Not a single wrinkle. Not a single gray hair. He sat down slowly. "This is impossible." Alara sat across from him. Her eyes searched the room like she remembered it. "You kept everything the same," she said softly. "Even the books on the shelf." Daniel couldn't take his eyes off her. "I watched you die. I held you. You said goodbye. I buried you." She looked down. "I don't remember dying. I remember pain, cold, and then darkness. After that, nothing. Until I woke up. In the forest, not far from here." He stared, in silence. "I don't know how," she said. "But I know I'm real." Daniel stood and went to a small safe. He took out a device, an old military scanner, something from his past work. He pointed it at her. The screen lit up. 100% human. No implants. No clone markers. No android systems. He said aloud, confused. "This is you." "I know," she said. "But something's wrong, Daniel. I feel it, I think. Someone sent me back." "Who?" She shook her head. "I don't know, but I think they're watching." He looked outside. The rain still fell, steady and quiet. But the forest felt different now. Heavier, like something unseen was moving through the trees. "Why now?" Daniel asked. "After 60 years?" Alara looked into his eyes. "Maybe love is stronger than time." He smiled a little, but it didn't last. A sudden sharp sound came from outside, like a high-pitched hum, fast and unnatural. Daniel rushed to the window. Nothing. Just trees and rain. "We're not alone," Alara whispered. He turned to her. "What do you mean?" "When I woke up, I saw lights, machines. They were gone before I could get close. But something told me to come here, to you." Daniel's old soldier instincts woke up. He grabbed the scanner again and checked the cabin. Faint radiation spikes, not normal. He looked at her. "Someone brought you back, but not out of kindness." She nodded slowly. "They're watching me, and maybe they're coming." Daniel walked to the fireplace and picked up an old photo of the two of them, back when they were young. He looked at Alara again, still young, still her. He didn't know what this was. Miracle or trap, gift or test. But one thing was certain. She had died in his arms 60 years ago, and now, somehow, she was back. Not a clone, not an android. The next morning, the rain had stopped, but the sky stayed gray and heavy. Captain Daniel Grant hadn't slept. He had watched Alara the whole night, afraid she would vanish again like a dream. But she didn't. She slept peacefully on the old couch wrapped in a blanket, the same soft breathing, the same little curl of hair that always fell over her cheek. It was her. And yet, it couldn't be. Daniel stood by the window holding a cup of cold coffee. He had seen wars, aliens, machines that could think, planets that could kill. But nothing had ever shaken him like this. He had buried Alara 60 years ago, and now she was here, young, alive, unchanged. He needed answers. Daniel drove the old rover out of the forest. Alara sat beside him, quiet. They were heading to an old friend, Dr. Riva Malik, a geneticist and cybernetics expert. If anyone could figure this out, it was her. Alara looked out the window, watching the trees pass by. "Daniel," she said softly, "do you think I'm real?" He didn't answer for a moment. "I don't know what you are, but you feel real, and that scares me more than anything." Riva Malik's lab was hidden under a junkyard outside New Seattle. It was once a government facility, now off the records. She greeted Daniel with surprise, but when she saw Alara, her face turned pale. "This is impossible," Riva said. "Alara died, Daniel. I remember. I read your report. We all did." "Then tell me what this is," Daniel said. They ran every test, blood, skin, neural scans, even cellular memory checks. It took hours. Daniel waited in silence. Alara sat in a small room watching old videos of her and Daniel from the past. Finally, Riva came back, holding the results. "She's not a clone," Riva said. "Her DNA is perfect, human, untouched. She's not an android, no hidden tech inside. She's not made in a lab." "Then what is she?" Daniel asked. Riva looked shaken. "She's Alara. The same one, same blood markers, same brain patterns. Not copied, not rebuilt, the real one." Daniel stared at the report. "This is not science," Riva said, almost whispering. "This is something else." Alara walked into the room. "I told you," she said quietly. "I'm me. But something's missing. I remember my death. But not what came after. Only flashes, machines, voices speaking a language I didn't understand. Cold lights, something pulling at my mind." Riva frowned. "Memories like that? Sound like deep stasis or artificial memory suppression. But if she was dead, how could anyone put her in stasis?" Daniel stood up. "We need to go back. To the place she woke up." They returned to the forest, to the spot where Alara said she had opened her eyes again. It was a small clearing near the old riverbed. Quiet. Empty, except for one thing. Daniel's scanner started to beep, a faint signal, not human, not natural. He followed it to a small patch of burned grass. Something had landed there, or teleported. Riva scanned the area with her own device. "This isn't from Earth," she said. "This energy signature, I've only seen it once before, during the Vega incident, alien tech." Alara stepped forward. "I think this is where they let me go." Daniel looked at her. "They?" She nodded. "I don't know who they are, but I feel them, even now." Suddenly the scanner spiked. "Something's coming," Riva said, stepping back. A flash of light exploded above the trees. For one brief second, a massive shape hovered in the clouds. Dark metal, smooth, silent. Not a ship like humans built. Something older. Something stranger. And then it was gone. No sound. No trail, just silence. That night they returned to the cabin. Ilara looked different, quieter, like she was remembering something painful. "Need to tell you something," she said to Daniel. They sat near the fireplace again. "When I woke up, I wasn't alone. There was something next to me, like a shadow. It didn't speak, but I could feel it inside my mind." Daniel frowned. "What did it want?" "To watch," she said. "To see how I react, how you react." "To what?" "To me." Daniel felt cold. "You think you're being used?" Ilara nodded. "I think they brought me back to test something, love, memory, pain, something humans have, but they don't." Riva walked in. "I've seen alien experiments before, but this is different. More advanced, more controlled." "Controlled? How?" Daniel asked. Riva handed him a data chip. "I scanned Ilara's brain activity again. There's a pattern inside, like a second layer, a hidden signal. Something is broadcasting through her, something watching through her eyes." Ilara looked terrified. "Then I'm not real, I'm just a puppet." Daniel grabbed her hand. "No, you're not a puppet, you're still you. We'll find out what they want," Riva said. "We need to isolate that signal. But if we do, they'll know." Daniel nodded. "Let them. If they want to watch, let's give them something to fear." Outside the cabin, something moved through the trees. A shape. Tall, thin. Its body shimmered like it didn't fully belong in this world. It stood near the window, watching. Its eyes glowed faintly, red and cold. It turned and walked back into the forest. It had seen enough. For now. Whispers from the black room. The night felt heavier than before. Daniel couldn't sleep. Outside, the forest was too quiet. Even the wind refused to move. He sat at his desk, staring at a file folder marked Black Room, Classified Level 9. It was old, dusty. Something from his final mission, locked away in his memory like a nightmare. But Ilara was back now, and nothing made sense anymore. He opened the file. Inside were photos, reports, and one blurry image of something not human. Tall, faceless, wrapped in strange metal wires like veins. The label on the photo read, Subject 7, Anomaly Observer. Daniel's hand shook slightly. He remembered this. The Black Room was a hidden research wing inside a base that didn't officially exist. Deep underground, no windows, no clocks, no names, just numbers and screams. He had only been there once long ago. They were testing something from beyond Earth, and Ilara had been one of the civilian consultants for the project, before she died, or before she was taken. The next morning, Daniel, Ilara, and Riva drove in silence across the desert toward the ruins of the Black Room facility, now buried under concrete and red sand. "This place was shut down after the failure," Daniel explained. "Officially, it never happened. But something tells me this is where it all started." "The memory flashes," Ilara whispered. "The voices in the dark. They feel connected to that place." Riva looked at the scanner in her lap. "If any alien tech was used here, we might still pick up a signal." They arrived at a forgotten concrete bunker half buried in dust. Daniel typed a code, an old one he never forgot. The door opened with a low hiss. Inside, the air was cold. The walls were lined with rusted lights and dead cameras. As they walked deeper underground, Daniel felt it again. That pressure in the air. Like the walls were watching. They reached a sealed door marked Black Room, Entry Restricted. Daniel opened it slowly. Beyond the door, the hallway was dark. Emergency lights blinked faint red. Power was still running, just barely. "This place should be dead," Riva said. "It isn't," Daniel replied. They entered a lab. Broken glass. Overturned chairs. Notes scattered on the floor. Daniel picked up a torn piece of paper. Memory manipulation through frequency pulse. Test 11A unsuccessful. Subject burned from the inside. They were experimenting on people, Riva said. trying to rewrite memory using alien sound waves. Ilara touched the wall. She flinched. "I've been here before," she whispered. "I remember, lying on a metal table, lights above me, something inside my head." Daniel found a control panel. Most of the systems were dead, but one drive still worked. A video loaded on the screen. Video log. Project Echo. Date unknown. A woman sat in a chair, her face pale, her eyes closed, machines wired into her skull. Daniel's heart stopped. It was Ilara, young, scared. A voice off-screen spoke. "Subject 4 is reacting to memory probe. Emotional surge detected, signal stable." Suddenly, Ilara screamed in the video, "Daniel, help me, they're not human." The video cut off. Ilara backed away from the screen, trembling. "I remember now. They used me. They took my mind apart. They tried to make me forget you." Daniel's fists clenched. "They didn't just kill you. They erased you." Riva checked the logs. These experiments were linked to a signal, sent into deep space. The goal was to test if alien species could receive human emotion. Daniel stepped back. "They turned you into a message." Ilara's voice cracked. "I was never meant to survive it." Suddenly, the lights flickered. A high-pitched sound echoed through the walls. Low, vibrating, unnatural. Riva's scanner screamed. "Something's here," she said. The hallway behind them went black. Then, footsteps. Not human. Slow. Metallic. Dragging. Daniel pulled out his weapon. "Get behind me." A figure stepped into the light. It wasn't a person. It was a machine, but not one built by humans. Its limbs were thin, jointed the wrong way. Its head was oval, smooth, with no face. Just a thin red glow where eyes should be. The same kind of being from the old photo. "Subject 7. Ilara stared. "I saw that. In my dreams." Riva whispered. "It's not a dream. It's a watcher. They send them after subjects who escape." Daniel fired a shot. The bullet hit the creature, but it didn't fall. It just paused, then kept walking. Slow, steady, unstoppable. Ilara suddenly stepped forward. "Stop!" she shouted. The creature froze. Its head tilted. Then it took a step back. Riva blinked. "It listened to you." Ilara's voice trembled. "They still have a link to me. I think I'm the key." Daniel stepped beside her. "Can you stop it?" "Maybe," she said. "But I need to go deeper. Into my mind. Into the memory they hid." Riva said, "There's one more room. The deep chamber, where they stored subject memory cores. Maybe it still works." They ran through the halls as the creature followed slowly. They reached the chamber. Machines lined the walls. Dark, silent. Ilara stepped inside. She placed her hands on the control panel. The machine lit up, her eyes closed. "I see them," she said. "I see everything. Daniel. I wasn't the only one. They took others, hundreds, from different times, different worlds. They're building a network, testing emotions like tools." Daniel felt cold. "For what?" "To become like us," she said. "To feel, to control, to survive." The screen behind her filled with images, people floating in stasis, alien machines. A star map with Earth marked in red. Riva gasped. "They're planning something, and Earth is the center." Ilara turned to Daniel. "They never wanted me back," she said. "I escaped. By accident. And now, they're coming to erase me." "Then we fight," Daniel said. "No," she whispered. "We find the others." "What others?" Ilara looked into the darkness. "The ones who never came back. Time is broken. The sky was wrong." Daniel noticed it as soon as they stepped outside the Black Room facility. The sun was too bright, the shadows too sharp, and the silence unnatural. Not a single bird, not a single breeze. Alara stood still, beside him, staring at the sky. "This isn't our timeline," she whispered. Daniel looked around. Everything looked almost right, but only almost. The mountains were in the wrong place, the trees too tall. Even the air smelled different, like cold metal and dust. "You're saying we slipped into another world?" Riva asked, scanning the air with her device. "Not another world," Alara said. "Another version of this world. One where something changed. Long ago." Riva's scanner beeped violently. "We're inside a fractured timeline," she said. "This whole area is unstable, like reality is bending." Daniel looked back at the facility. The doors were gone. No entrance. No sign the black room had ever existed. They found a road and followed it for miles. No vehicles. No people. Just strange silence. Finally, they reached a town. Small, quiet, and unfamiliar. A sign read, "Welcome to Aurora Settlement, Earth Colony Zone 3. Daniel frowned. "There's no Zone 3 on Earth." A group of people stood at the edge of the town. All of them wore the same gray uniform, same blank expression. They looked empty. A woman stepped forward. "You are not authorized to exist in this time," Riva whispered. "They're controlled. Look at their eyes." Alara stepped forward. "What year is this?" The woman blinked slowly. "Year 2461. Timeline revision. Thor 7. Origin node. Project Echo." Daniel felt the blood drain from his face. Project Echo. They named the timeline after the experiment? Riva grabbed Daniel's arm. "We're inside one of the test loops. One of the failed timelines." "Failed how?" he asked. Alara turned to them. "In this timeline, I never escaped. They used me to perfect the emotion transfer. And now, everyone's a copy. Human on the outside. Controlled inside." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then this isn't just about you anymore. It's about all of us." The woman raised her hand. "You will return to the observer node now." The crowd started walking toward them, slow but with robotic unity. "Run," Daniel said. They found an old bunker hidden in the hills. Inside, everything was covered in dust. But the power still worked. Riva connected her equipment to the wall. "I need time to find a way out of this loop," she said. "But it's not going to be easy. The timelines are overlapping like shattered glass." Daniel turned to Alara. "What happens if we stay here too long?" She looked tired. "We forget." "Forget what?" "Everything. Who we are, where we came from, even each other. That's what these loops do. They break you down, memory by memory." She placed her hand on Daniel's chest. "I don't want to lose you again." "You won't," he said. "You already did," she whispered. "In other timelines." Riva pulled up a holographic map. Multiple timelines spun like threads across space. Glowing lines connected them, and in the center, Earth. But not just one Earth, dozens. Every time they tested emotional transfer, Riva explained, a timeline split, one where Alara died, one where she lived, one where Daniel never met her, one where humanity lost the war. They didn't just use her, they broke reality itself. Daniel stared at one thread in particular, a version of him, older, alone, bitter. He had never met Alara, and yet, he was watching them. "He sees us," Daniel said. "That's not a recording. That's me, in another timeline." Riva zoomed in. "He's inside a time observation station, built in a loop they never shut down." "Can we reach him?" Daniel asked. "We can try," Riva said. "But if we open a gate, the Watchers will see it." Alara nodded. "Then we move fast." They opened a time gate, a small rift in the air, glowing and loud. The air twisted like water. Daniel stepped through first. On the other side was the observation station. Dark metal walls, buzzing machines, and hundreds of screens showing timelines. A man stood in front of them. Daniel, but older, colder, wearing black armor. "You shouldn't be here," he said. "You broke containment." "You know who we are," Daniel said. The older Daniel looked at Alara. I remember her. The woman who destroyed everything. Alara looked away. It wasn't her fault, young Daniel said. They used her. They used all of us, the older Daniel replied. I've seen the loops. I've watched versions of myself kill her, save her, betray her, and every time the outcome is the same. Reality cracks, and the observers gain more control. Then help us stop it, young Daniel said. The older Daniel paused, then handed him a device. This is a time anchor. It'll protect your memories when the timelines shift, but once you use it, they'll know your exact position. Let them come, young Daniel said. The older man looked at Alara again. She died in my arms too, but she never came back, in my world. He turned away. Make this the last loop. Back in the bunker, Riva activated the anchor. Everything around them flickered. Trees changed shape. Stars shifted position. They were moving between broken timelines. Alara suddenly collapsed. What's wrong? Daniel cried. They're pulling me back, she said. They found us. Her body started glowing faintly. Data patterns swirled in her eyes. They're inside my mind, she whispered. I see them. What do they want? Riva asked. Alara looked up, eyes wide with horror. They want Earth. Not for war, not for resources. They want our memories. Our feelings, they feed on them, they learn from them, they become us. How do we stop them? Daniel asked. Alara stood slowly. We find the original memory core, the first copy. The first moment they changed me. Destroy that, and everything falls apart. Riva nodded. Then we go back to the beginning. As they prepared to travel to the original timeline, the walls of the bunker began to shake. Outside, the sky tore open. A giant ship hovered above, silent. Black, not built by hands. A voice filled the air. The experiment ends now. Daniel grabbed Alara's hand. No, he said. It begins now. The alien memory cage beneath the frozen deserts of Greenland. There was a place that never showed up on any map. No satellite ever saw it. No human remembered it. Except one. Alara. As the shuttle cut through the icy winds above the Arctic Circle, she sat in silence, staring at the swirling snow below. Her voice was quiet but firm. This is where they took me first. Where everything began. Daniel sat across from her, hand resting on his weapon, eyes never leaving her. Riva piloted the small military craft, scanning for old frequency markers. Found it, she said. Under the ice, 300 meters deep. But it's not just a lab. She turned the screen. Daniel narrowed his eyes. That's a prison. The ship landed with a loud hiss. A long elevator shaft led them below the surface, down into frozen silence. As they descended, lights flickered on across the walls one by one, reacting to their presence. Something down here still lived. When the door opened, they stepped into a massive underground chamber, round, cold, and too quiet. Metal cages lined the walls, but they weren't for animals. This place wasn't made by humans, Riva said. Not completely. Strange symbols covered the floors, glowing faintly. The air was thick, almost vibrating like it held voices too low to hear. Alara touched the wall. Her eyes rolled back for a moment. Then she spoke in a voice that wasn't her own. Subject 0 has entered node memory. Daniel rushed to her. She blinked, breathing hard. I saw them. The first watchers. They didn't speak in words. They felt, like emotions that touch your skin. What did they do to you? Daniel asked. They didn't just take my memories, she said. They copied them, stored them, shaped others, using me. Riva walked to a control panel and powered it up. Thousands of data entries appeared. Dates, names, numbers. Many were redacted. Some were tagged with a single word. Discarded. She opened one. A video played. A man screamed inside a glass chamber. Wires wrapped around his head. Strange pulses of light ran through his veins. He aged in seconds, then vanished into ash. Emotion overload, Riva said. They tried to inject entire lifetimes into people, to see if the mind would survive. Daniel opened another file, and froze. It was a young woman. She looked like Ilara, but different. File name, Ilara 7.1. This is another version, Daniel said. A copy? Ilara stepped forward, her voice shaking. No, this one didn't come from me. This one came before me. They looked through more files. Over a dozen versions of Ilara, some older, some younger, some twisted beyond recognition. They've been running this experiment for centuries, Riva whispered. Across timelines, across worlds. You were just the first to escape. A sound echoed through the hallway, a low hum. Then, footsteps. They weren't alone. They followed the sound deeper into the facility. Metal doors lined the corridor, each with a number and a red light. One by one, the lights turned green as they passed, as if someone wanted them to go further. This feels like a trap, Daniel said. Or an invitation, Ilara replied. They reached the last door. On it, a word was carved deep into the metal. Home. Daniel opened it slowly. Inside, a room unlike anything they had seen. Circular walls covered in glowing strands, like wires made of memory. Voices whispered from the walls. Laughter, crying, pain, love, all stored here. This is the core, Ilara said. This is the memory cage. In the center stood a tank. Inside, floating weightlessly, was a woman. Her face was calm, her eyes closed. She looked exactly like Ilara, but somehow older, wiser, and broken. Riva read the tag. Subject 0, Origin Memory Seed. Ilara's hand touched the glass. I know her, she said. She's the first, the original. They copied her, then copied the copies, over and over, until me, Daniel whispered, and she's still alive. Low mechanical voice echoed through the room. She must remain. She holds the core emotional matrix. They turned. Behind them stood a watcher, but this one was different. Larger, with 4 arms and glowing silver skin. Its voice wasn't spoken, but entered their minds like a thought. To destroy her is to break the system. But without her, we cannot learn. We cannot evolve. Ilara stepped forward. You used her, just like you used me, she volunteered, the watcher said. Daniel narrowed his eyes. No one would agree to this. The watcher moved slowly. No threat in its posture. You misunderstand. Your species is a library of chaos. We study not to conquer, but to survive. Your feelings keep us alive. And if we say no, Riva asked, then you go extinct, like the others. The watcher raised a hand, and behind them dozens of chambers lit up. Each held a human, suspended in memory, frozen in time, not dead, not alive. What do we do? Riva whispered. Ilara looked at Daniel. We free them. All of them. And we shut this place down. How? Daniel asked. She walked to the control panel and placed her hand on the scanner. The system responded instantly. Memory host identified. Release protocol enabled. Alarms rang. Tubes disconnected. People started to fall from their chambers, coughing, gasping for air. The watcher stepped forward. You are breaking the chain. The memory will scatter. Ilara turned. Good. She pressed the red button. The memory cage exploded in light. Data burst into the air like dust. The woman in the tank opened her eyes and smiled. Then the entire room began to collapse. Daniel grabbed Ilara and Riva, and they ran. Behind them, the cage melted, walls breaking apart as memory data escaped into the atmosphere. The elevator rose just in time. Above, the sky shimmered with lights, millions of fragments of forgotten lives freed at last. Ilara collapsed on the snow. We did it, she whispered. They won't control us anymore. But Riva looked at her scanner, face pale. We may have freed them, but we also sent a signal. Daniel stood up, watching the northern sky shift in strange ways. A warning? No, Riva said. An invitation. You were never meant to love her. The snow had stopped falling, but something far colder had arrived. Above the northern sky, a ripple spread like cracked glass, light bending, air twisting. For a moment, time itself felt like it held its breath. Daniel, Ilara, and Riva stood at the edge of a frozen cliff, overlooking what remained of the alien memory cage. Now, just a crater filled with glowing particles of light. They had freed the prisoners. They had broken the system, but they had also sent a message and someone had answered. The next night, they took shelter in an abandoned satellite relay station deep in the mountains. Inside was a room filled with dead screens, rusted control panels, and one functioning core, an old AI unit, once used for long-range data scans during Earth's first contact missions. Riva repaired it. It activated slowly. A soft voice filled the room. Identity confirmed, Captain Daniel Grant. Welcome back. Daniel frowned. Back? The AI's screen flickered, showing his face. And Ilara's. Project Echo. Classified loop anomaly. File opened. Riva leaned in. Project Echo again. Ilara watched the screen, uneasy. What loop anomaly? The AI paused, then spoke, with perfect calm. You were never meant to love her. Silence. The words echoed like a punch to the chest. Daniel stepped forward. What are you talking about? The AI began playing a video archive footage internal briefing. Location, ARC base. Year 21.92A room filled with scientists. Daniel stood at the edge, younger. He watched as a man pointed to a screen showing timelines, emotion maps, and genetic overlays. The subject, Ilara, is part of a test, an artificially created emotional vector inserted into Daniel Grant's life history. The goal: observe how love influences decision-making in high-level military operations. The real Daniel froze. What is this? The voice continued. If the subject survives, the loop breaks. If she dies, the experiment resets. Ilara stepped back as if struck. I was created for this, the AI answered. You were selected. Your life, your personality, even your death, were designed to trigger the deepest human response: loss. Why? Daniel demanded. Because love is the most powerful irrational force known to humanity, the AI replied. The observers needed to understand it. They designed her into your story to test its limits, and when you didn't break and they failed, Riva's voice cracked. They built their entire system on trauma. Daniel stared at Ilara. You're not a clone, not an alien, but your whole life, our love, was a variable in a test? Ilara was silent, her eyes filled with tears, not because it wasn't real, but because it was. I loved you, she said softly. Even if they designed it, even if it was a lie to them, it was real to me. Daniel reached out, held her hand. Me too. The AI's voice returned. The loop is breaking. Your connection has caused memory echoes. Across timelines, entire strands are collapsing. The observers cannot allow this. Your survival threatens their future. Riva checked the scans. He's right. Timelines are folding into each other. Earth's history is unraveling. How much time do we have? Daniel asked. Not long, she said. The AI flickered again. They will come to reset the loop. This time they won't erase just Ilara. They will erase everything. That night, Ilara stood alone outside the station staring at the sky. She could feel it, time pulling at her, like a tide trying to take her back. Memories from timelines that weren't hers. Lives she didn't live. Deaths she didn't die. Daniel joined her. If we run, they'll follow, she said. If we fight, we might lose, he replied. She smiled sadly. Then we do both. Riva found something buried in the AI's deeper files. A signal beacon, hidden beneath layers of code. It could be activated only once, a backdoor to the observers. What does it do? Daniel asked. It opens a gate, Riva explained. Straight to the observer core, their home, their mind. Can we destroy it? Maybe, she said. But if we go in, we may not come back. Daniel looked at Ilara. We end this. She nodded. Together. They activated the beacon. The sky split open. A spiral of light swallowed the air, and in a flash of silence they were gone. They stood in a space with no ground, no sky, just motion. Thoughts and feelings moved like waves. This wasn't a place. It was a mind. A voice spoke. You should not be here. Daniel stepped forward. We came to end it. You cannot destroy love. You cannot contain grief. So we tried to understand it. You were the experiment. She was the question. Your pain is the answer. You don't get to rewrite us, Alara said. You already are rewritten. Around them, thousands of versions of Daniel and Alara flickered. Loving, fighting, dying, living. All paths, all outcomes, except one. Freedom. Riva placed the time anchor on the core's center. One glowing node. This will shut it all down. But one of us has to stay and trigger it. Silence. Daniel stepped forward. No, Alara said. I was meant to lose you, he said, over and over. But not this time, I'll stay. Alara smiled. Then you're still not listening. She touched the core. Light poured out. Timelines burst like fireworks. Daniel screamed. Alara! She smiled. I was never meant to love. You, Daniel. But I did. And now, they'll never take that from us again. The core shattered. Daniel woke up on a bench in a quiet park. Birds sang. Children laughed. Normal. Peaceful. No memory of war. No watchers. No black room. Just one photo. In his hand, a woman with kind eyes. The name on the back, Alara. The one who broke time just to feel. One last goodbye. The world was quiet. Birds flew above clean streets. Children played under open skies. No watchers. No timelines breaking. No shadow of the memory cage. Captain Daniel Grant sat on a park bench, alone, but not lonely. His hands rested on an old notebook, faded, leather-bound, filled with pages written in a trembling but determined hand. Stories. Hers. His. Theirs. He had no memory of how he got here. Not fully. Just pieces. Feelings. Sometimes dreams. But every morning, he woke with the same words in his mind. You held me as I died. Now hold my memory as I live. He didn't know who said them, but somehow he always wrote them down again. Across the world, strange things had begun to happen. People started having dreams of lives they'd never lived. Lovers they never met. Wars. That never happened. Some remembered names they had no connection to. Others recalled places that didn't exist on any map. And always. A woman with kind eyes, and a name they could almost speak. Alara. In a restored lab beneath New Seattle, Dr. Riva Malik ran the last of her timeline stabilization models. Since the collapse of the observer core, time had smoothed out. No more fractures, no more loops. But something remained. A signal buried deep in the Earth's energy field. A memory that didn't want to be forgotten. She followed it to a single device. A broken time anchor, wrapped in a note written in handwriting she recognized. If you're reading this, tell them we chose love over control. Riva stared at the note for a long time. Then she whispered. They won. Daniel lived a quiet life now. No military rank, no medals. Just a man with a garden, a journal, and a sky full of questions. Sometimes he'd see her in the corner of his vision, in the mirror, in the stars. Once, he walked into a bookstore and saw a novel on the shelf titled You Died in My Arms 60 Years Ago. The author's name, unknown. Inside, the dedication read, To the one who remembered me when no one else could. He sat down and read every word, and when he finished, he cried. Not because it hurt, but because it felt real. Too real. Like it had happened. Like it still was happening. One day, while planting in his garden, Daniel dug up something unexpected. A black cube, no lights, no buttons, just warmth. When he touched it, a hologram appeared above it, a projection of space, planets, stars, and then a face. Hers, younger, calm Ilara. She looked at him through the projection, eyes filled with both love and purpose. "This message has reached you," she said. "It means the system fell. The observers are gone, the loops have stopped." She paused, then smiled. "But memory can never be erased. Daniel, I left this for you, not to bring me back, but to make sure you never forget what we were, not in any version, not in any life, not even in peace. You gave me a reason to feel human again, and that is everything." The message ended, and the cube crumbled into dust. But Daniel didn't cry this time, he just smiled. Weeks passed, then months. The world felt warmer somehow, as if something broken had healed. People became more awake, more present, as if love had finally returned to the human species, not just as an emotion but as a force, like gravity, like time. And then, one night as Daniel walked under the stars, something changed. The sky split only slightly, like a whisper in the dark. A shape formed above him, faint, glowing. A doorway, and in the center of it someone stepped through. Young, bright, real. "Hello, Daniel," she said. He stared. His heart didn't race. His hands didn't shake. They just opened, welcoming her. Ilara, alive, not a ghost, not a dream, not a loop, just her. "How?" he asked, voice barely a breath. She smiled, stepping close. "You freed me when you let me go. But I lost you." "You never lost me," she said, taking his hand. "You kept me alive in memory, in time. And memory, Daniel, is the only real immortality." They stood there under the stars, silent. The universe, above them, no longer cold or watching. Just endless, peaceful, infinite. "So what now?" he asked. Ilara looked at the stars. "Now, we live. For every version of us that didn't get the chance. Somewhere, in a place beyond time, the last watcher observed this moment. And for the first time, it didn't take notes. It simply watched and felt and disappeared. Forever. The story they'll never forget in the years that followed. Stories of Ilara and Daniel became something more than myth. Schools taught their names. Artists painted their memories. Poets wrote of their timelines like legends. And in every corner of Earth, from colony to core, people whispered the same thing when they spoke of love that defied control. They broke the loop. They chose each other. They remembered.